Now, most of you would have given the first and the second round, that is the MCQ and the coding round, and you are waiting for the results for the interviews. Now, I have made separate videos for round one and round two. If you are directly coming to this video, just check the link in the description or inside the channel, you will get it. Now, you would be hoping that I have solved some of the questions from the coding round and waiting for the results. Now, depending on how many students have applied to the drive and how many students they are checking the papers for, that is for the coding round, it would take somewhere around 2 to 7 days to get the results out. So you do have a couple of days for preparation for the interviews. So I would recommend that do not wait for results and start preparing for the interviews. Now, the second thing is that how you would know that if you would be selected. Now, there is no particular rule or anything as per se, but if you have solved 4 questions, most likely you would get selected. And but don't lose hope that if you have solved 2 questions also, there is a possibility that if they find something unique in your solutions, there is a slight chance that they might select you. Okay, so taking that into account, today we'll be looking at the interview rounds in detail and some of the previous year questions. So I'll keep this video to the point, and which is why you should watch the video till the end. So what would be the things that would be asked in the interviews, and what would be the structure, or what are the things that would be asked? Okay, so I will divide this interview into 3 main parts. The most commonly asked and important question. Then there is a probability that the second part questions may or may not be asked depending on who comes up and who comes not. Some people prefer they ask this, or some people do not ask this. Okay, and finally the third section would be the coding questions, and this would be the most important section, and everyone would focus on this part predominantly. Okay, now the common and will be asked question is, and also this would be the first question that they will ask you, is introduce yourself. Okay, try to put all the things which are important and would tell you that this particular person is important for this job role, or you are important, how you are important for this job role. Like, what is your education, what things you learned, what internships you did, what projects you did, or what are some of the co-curricular activities which would contribute to your learning in this in the particular role that you are applying for. Okay, secondly, projects and internship. Now, depending on what you mentioned in the first question, they would ask some of the cross questions, like what you learned, or what were some of the problems you faced, something like that. Okay, so that would contribute to the first part, and it would be like 10% of your interview. Now, the second part is that these questions may or may not be asked. Okay, so there is a possibility that they might ask some of the theoretical questions of object oriented programming, database management system, operating system, TCP/IP. Okay, so something like that, like what is deadlock, what are race conditions, or uh, like they might ask you some queries or something like that. Okay, so that is possibility for the theory questions. And also they might ask you some puzzles, like currently this is the time, and what are the angle between the two hands of the clock. Okay, so that might be some of the puzzle question. Okay, so that contributes to the second part of the interviews. And finally, the most important part of the interviews would be the coding question. Now, the level of these coding questions would be from easy to moderate. They would most probably would not be going into trees and graphs, but they might ask some basic tree questions. Okay, now what they prefer in looking for while you solve the coding question is that you think out loud. That is, whatever the approach you are taking, they make sure that you understand that particular approach and how you are approaching and how you are solving that problem. Okay, now the topics that they might consider asking is from starting from arrays, string manipulations, stacks, queues, linked list. So these are some of the things that they might ask in coding questions. Now, what are some of the things that you might consider in inculcating in yourself while taking the interviews? So first thing is, never panic. Whatever happens, even if you do not have the slightest idea how to solve a problem, please do not panic. Because, like, even if you do not know a question, there is a possibility that the interviewer might give you a hint, might give a solution in some way. And if you panic, there is no way that you would pick that hint. Okay, so make sure you do not panic whatever happens. Second thing, do not claim something that you know, even if you don't. Okay, they are working professionals who are taking your interviews, so they will definitely pick up if you say something that you know, but you do not know what that concept is. Third thing, Try to put your thoughts clearly. This is a very important thing that interviewer should know and should feel like you understand the concept, whatever you are explaining or whatever you are answering. You should know that, and interview should feel that you know that. Okay, that is the third thing. And finally, speak out loud. This is a most important thing while solving the problems, the coding questions especially. Like, if you are thinking of, let's say the interviewer has given you a question, whatever you are thinking, maybe you are just walking through the example, just think out loud whatever you are thinking. So for example, if he has given an array question, so if you are thinking of an example how that would work, just speak out loud. Like, let's say I'm thinking of this example, and as you have said that this should be the input, then this should work out. So you are saying like 3 4 5 are the sample cases I'm taking, and if we apply in this way, then this should be expected output. Think out loud, that so that interviewer would also know what you are thinking, and it would help him better that you are understanding the problem and how you are approaching to the solution. Before moving on to the previous year question section of the video, I don't think you guys like this part of the video, because if you would have liked, you would have subscribed and liked this video. I mean, like the second round video, because the number of people who have watched the first and the second round video, even if 30% of those people would have subscribed to the channel, then you would have reached the target of subscribers and you would have got rest of the questions. And I had planned 7 to 8 questions for the interviews, but as you guys don't like this part, I'll just give you one of the question. Okay, so let us move on with the question. So the question is, write a function which returns the second largest number from the array with the time complexity O of n. Okay, so what question basically says is, you would be given an array and you need to return the second largest number, not the largest number, with time complexity O of n. Okay, so let us look at the solution what we have. So I'll start with the main function, just similar to if you have checked the round 2 question. We are creating a find largest function. It should be second largest, but doesn't matter. Find largest, and it would return the answer, which is the second largest number. And I'm just printing that to the console. Okay, so what we are basically doing in that function is we are creating two variables, that is largest and second largest, and I'm taking this, hard coding this array for now. You could take input for this array and do whatever you feel like, but for now, for understanding purposes, I'm just hard coding this array. Let's say this is the array that we are given and we need to find the second largest one. Okay, so what we are doing is we are just iterating through the complete array, and for the first number that we are encountering, we are just setting that number to the largest and the second largest at initial point. Okay, so like we are considering that the interviewer want, like if you have just one number in that array, you just want that number to be the second largest. Okay, so that is what we are assuming. So that is what the initial check is, that if I is equal to 0, we are just setting the first number to be largest and the second largest. Now moving on, while iteration, what we are doing is we are just checking if that particular number is greater than largest. For the iteration we are on, we are just checking if that number is greater than largest. If that is the case, then what it means that in every iteration, then we have found a number which is larger than any number till now we have encountered. Okay, so what we are doing is we are just taking the current iteration number and setting it to the largest, but before setting it to largest, we need to save that largest number into the second largest number. Okay, so that's what we are doing. We are just setting second largest number with the largest so that it just does not get destroyed, and then after that setting the largest number that we have encountered in the current iteration to the largest. Okay, now there is one more case other than this. What we need to consider is, let's say the number we have encountered is not greater than largest, but is greater than second largest. Okay, so for this, what we are doing is we are just putting an else if condition, and we are checking if the current number is greater than second largest and this number is not equal to largest, because it could be the case that current number is equal to largest, because we are checking greater than largest. Okay, so those are the two conditions, that is the current number is greater than second largest and it is not equal to largest. In that case, we are just putting the current number to be second largest, and that's it. That's what we have. We are just doing one iteration for the complete array and we are not even using any extra space. Okay, so this array is whatever the input we are giving. Okay, so we wouldn't consider it to be extra space. So that's it. That's the time complexity with O of n with one iteration, and you just return the second largest. That I have also compiled and run the solution, and we are getting 45 to be the second largest. We have 52 as largest and 45 to the second largest. So that's the solution, and I think you know what you need to do to get the rest of the questions. Make sure you subscribe and like the video. Best of luck for your interviews. Hope you do well, and I'll see you in the next one.